Kelly Mank, Executive Director of BNI Maine. Now that summer has officially started in Maine, I hope everybody had an unbelievable 4th of July holiday and holiday weekend. We are talking about how to stay current and active and efficient and productive during the summer. So this week's tip, I have 3 tips or 3 little secrets, I guess, that will help you stay active and productive during the summer. And that way, as we all know, your summer activity and your summer productivity is really what drives not only your summer success and summer numbers, but more so your fall numbers. And it's really important that we make sure we don't let too much go, so that way you don't get super frustrated and wonder what in the world happened come Q3. So let's talk about 3 simple things that we can do. Simple, not always easy. First one, and I say this to every single one of my consulting clients because everybody has the same, biggest problem, and it's I don't have enough time, or I'm constantly running out of time. So everyone wants to talk about time management, and they want to know the secrets behind time management. And there's really not any secrets behind time management. There are tools and there are habits that we can form that make controlling our time a lot better. However, there's really no hidden gem. And before we even get to time management, time blocking, the very first thing I start my consulting clients with is a list. I know how simple that seems. And sometimes we jump right into daily, weekly, monthly lists because I really do think it is important for everybody to have their daily list for today's productivity, their weekly list for short-term things that need to get done right away, and then our monthly productivity list for our monthly projects. But let's start even a little bit more simple. I just want everyone to start with like their daily list. So every single day I do this. Before I either leave the office or go home or go to bed, depending on what's going on in my world, I make a list for the next day. These are things I need to get done tomorrow. And maybe sometimes there's something that is on our list that we're either waiting to hear back from someone, or it doesn't really need to get done today. Maybe I can do it tomorrow. So I left it till the end of the day. I actually move that from my Tuesday list to my Wednesday list. And I keep an entire thing on every single day. And what's fun about a list is you can go in and you can scratch it off and as soon as it's done. Now, pro tip, I actually don't believe in scratching it off. What I believe in is getting a highlighter and highlighting it as you're doing it. A, it makes your notebook or your iPad a lot prettier, but B, you can go back to it and see what you completed. And that's the most important thing, because if we scratch it off, sometimes we can't go back and you're like, oh my gosh, when did I do this? Or what was this? Where if you highlight it because it's done, you get really used to knowing everything highlighted is done. And it's fantastic. So before you leave the office or before you go to bed, make your list for the next day. It's going to clear out your brain, so you're going to sleep better. You're going to have a better evening with your family or your friends or your kids or whatever you're doing in the evening. But more so, it's going to make your next day more productive. Now, when we wake up the next morning, sometimes our brain is going and we have ideas, or we open our email and we're like, oh my gosh, I have to take care of this today. Add those things to that day's list. But then that's it. No more. Anything else you want to try to put onto the next day's list. So that way you're not overwhelming yourself. Is it okay to go on to the next day's list if you finish everything? Absolutely. Or you get to play hooky the rest of the day. You get to go home. You got everything done. Go jump in the lake. Reward yourself. So my number 1 is to have that daily list. Now, I do also, like I said, I recommend having a weekly list for your weekly projects and a monthly list for your monthly projects because of my number 2, which my number 2 is to have a plan. So if you've got a project or you have something like summer games, right? It can seem overwhelming. And you get this, all these different rules and suggestions and ideas and all of these things that you have to do. It can be overwhelming. So make yourself a simple step-by-step plan. Check boxes, highlight whatever you're going to end up doing so that you know you did it. But having that plan for each one of your projects is really important because then things will get done and they'll get done in a timely manner because it's in front of you versus waiting until the 8th inning to decide to start playing. That never won anyone anything. Or waiting until the 7th week of summer games when it's only 8 weeks. It's not going to help you. Waiting until the end of the summer to finish your summer projects. That's going to create the end of the summer. Like, you're going to be miserable. And then you're going to remember, oh, summer 2024. Had to do all this stuff. That's not how you want to remember it. So really spend time to create that list. Now, the list and the plan are both very important things. And I have so many people tell me, I don't have time to make a list. You don't have time not to make a list. That's my answer. Without that list, everything in your head gets jumbled. And unfortunately, according to some studies, we are 80% less productive without having a list. Now, my tip number 3, when you're working on that list or you're working on pieces on that list, close your email, close your social media. Both of those things are super distracting. And quite frankly, those are the hardest for me. I've got the list down pat. I'm pretty decent with time management now. I have to be, right? But closing my email or closing my social media is a little bit more difficult for me. And I try really hard. Sometimes you'll come into my office and I have, like, no kidding, 25 windows open. I'm not working on them all at the same time, obviously, but it seems overwhelming. That can be hard to be crossing things off on your list. And we all fall into that. We all have too many tabs open. We all have too many windows open. Think of that, what's in your brain. My daughter and I make a joke of how many tabs are open in our brain at one time. So have your list of to-dos, have your plan on how to do some of those longer to-dos, and close your email, close your social media when you're working on your lists or your plan. Lastly, it's summer in Maine. Have fun. Whether you're working on work projects, summer game stuff, chapter things, kid stuff, family stuff, don't forget to have fun. Life is 10% what happens to us and 90% how we react to it and what we do with it. You know, I tell my kids all the time, and I tell my family, I tell my employees, I tell everybody, it's not about what happens. It's about how we react to it. And there's always a learning opportunity. There's always something that we can get from it. Maybe today's list didn't go well. Why not? Maybe I wasn't very productive. What did I do that made it so I wasn't productive? How do I fix that tomorrow? How do I get better at that? Practice makes perfect. Oh, no, perfect practice makes perfect. But if we don't start somewhere, how are we going to get anywhere? Try something new. Love your lists. And if you want to have a one-to-one about time management or lists, hit me up. All right, everybody. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic week and happy networking.